Cooperation with the Polish Library in Paris, preservation of the collection of acts of the accounting chamber of the January uprising. The collection of acts of the accounting chamber of the January uprising, amounting to nearly 15,000 archival documents and part of the holdings of the Polish Library in Paris, underwent conservation works in the Central Archives of Historical Records in Warsaw. Conservation work was preceded by the preparation of an expert's report whose purpose was to verify and compare the information contained in the archival inventory with the actual state of the archival holdings. The implementation of the projects enabled the digitalisation of all acts. This, in turn, shall grant access to the digital version of the documents to researchers both in Poland and France. Consequently, not only were these invaluable materials preserved, but were also made available to a broad group of users. Forms of protection of Polish national heritage outside Poland. The head office of the State Archives conducts activities aimed at the protection of Polonitsas, documents and acts relating to Poland or Polish people, kept in archives outside of Poland, attaching high importance to the recognition and protection of Polish archival documents scattered around the world, including those that pertain to the life of Polish immigrants and constitute the collective memory of our nation. Multi-year government programme Acidic Paper. Polish archives participated in the drawing up and implementation of a project enabling the preservation of a number of important archival documents for the sake of the future generations. The aim of the multi-year government programme Acidic Paper is to prevent the loss of documents constituting the cultural heritage of national importance and which were drawn up on low-quality paper, commonly referred to as acidic. The problem of acidic paper relates primarily to the archival holdings dating back to the 19th and 20th centuries, when manual paper productions was replaced by industrial paper making. In order to prevent the damage caused by the low quality, it is necessary to ensure appropriate conditions of storage, access and conservation, including de-acidification of archival holdings and the commencement of the process of digitalisation and microfilming. Among others, the programme enabled to save from destruction the acts of the accounting chamber of the temporary national government of the January uprising, which form part of the archival collection held in the Polish Library in Paris. Digitalisation and microfilming. The holdings of the State Archives have been preserved for many years in the form of microfilm copies of documents. Preservation activities are complemented by the microfilming of Polish documents held in archives abroad, as follows in Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine and the United States. In recent years, as a result of cooperation with foreign partners, the State's archives have expanded their holdings by over 250,000 of microfilm frames containing documents of Polish origin. They have been made available to the public. Without prejudice to the traditional technology used in the copying of documentation, the State Archives carry out a programme that consists in preparing scans of the holdings on a large scale, with the view of presenting and granting access to them via information networks. One of the forms of protection of archival heritage abroad, although particularly rare due to high implementation costs, consists in sending archival documents to Poland for the purposes of conservation, microfilming or digitalization. It has enabled the preservation of documents of great importance, albeit considered lost for many years, namely the acts of the Silesian uprisings, currently held in the Pilsudski Institute of America in New York. The collection of documents found in a dilapidated state were subject to conservation processes and subsequently microfilmed and scanned. The work carried out has led to the establishment of a collection of nearly 100,000 scans. As a result of work carried out by Polish archivists, both the State Archives of Katowice, where the documents underwent preservation processes, and Silesia Library are now in possession of materials pertaining to the Silesian uprisings held in electronic form, and these, coupled with documents drawn up during the uprising of Silesia that were already held by these institutions, which are known as the Silesian uprisings, and now with the Central Military Archives in Warsaw, which in turn has made all the documents available in Katowice, and researchers of the Silesian uprisings have gained access to sources thus far largely dispersed. Project of preserving the archive of Cultura Literaria Institute in Maison Lafitte near Paris. In cooperation with the National Library and the Association of the Cultura Literaria Institute, a project that consists in preserving the invaluable archival and library holdings of Maison Lafitte near Paris has been implemented. Archivists have already produced a conservation report together with a report on the material state of archival holdings. The activities undertaken by the team enabled the commencement of the process of organising and preparing a list of materials in the most valuable, from the point of view of the researchers, part of the documentation that is in the editorial portfolio of Cultura. This periodical, published in Paris, remained for over 50 years a prominent hub of political thought and literary creation of Polish post-war emigration. The archives hold numerous works of eminent Polish writers and poets, as follows: Andrzej Bobkowski, Witold Gombrowicz, Gustav Herling-Grudzinski, Marek Łasko, Zbigniew Herbert and Czesław Miłosz. Cooperation with the Congregation of Palatine Fathers in Paris. A team of archivists was delegated to the Congregation of Palatine Fathers in Paris in order to organise its collection of recordings. The latter is a result of the activities undertaken by the Dialogue Centre, established in 1973 by the priest Józef Sądzik, which was a hub of intellectual and pastoral life of Polish emigration in Paris. The following step in the implementation of the project was digitalisation of the recordings, which were, for this purpose, transported to Poland and subject to preservation activities. A collection of recordings which includes statements made by prominent activists of the democratic opposition from the times of People's Republic of Poland, as follows: statements of Stefan Sielewski, Zbigniew Herbert, Sławomir Mrozek, Adam Boniecki, Antoni Słonimski, and Cardinal Karol Wojtyła, later to become John Paul II. One of the most important areas of activity in which the State Archives are engaged, initiated and coordinated by the General Director, comprises a wide scope of endeavours aimed at enriching and expanding national archival holdings in Poland by adding historical material dispersed throughout the world. Many valuable relics commemorating prominent Poles or documenting breakthrough events from Polish history remain in the hands of private persons, in family archives, or constitute part of archival holdings of Polish institutions abroad, or of national archival holdings on neighbouring countries. The political changes in Poland and the establishment of tighter contacts with Polish diaspora have resulted in recent years in tangible achievements in the form of a rising number of benefactors willing to hand over documents to the state archives in Poland. Thus, the archives of New Records in Warsaw have recently received documents from the archives of Ryszard Białos, also known as Jerzy, the commander of Battalion Zoska, Scouting Battalion of the Polish Resistance Movement Organization. The archives of the Polish Home Army Ex-Servicemen Association in the United States and the archive of Władysław Zakierasiewicz. Thanks to the generosity of the owners, these historical sources shall be preserved and made available to the general public.